Equifax likely owes you money, MalwareTech is finally free, and a BlueKeep exploit goes on sale. All that coming up now on ThreatWire. Greetings, I am Shannon Morris and this is ThreatWire for July 30th, 2019, your summary of the threats to our security, privacy, and internet freedom. It's time for a quick shout out. This one goes out to Jonathan, Hedgester, Soren, Morton, Scott, Timothy, Indicus, Brian, Harry, Edward, Tawny, Harambe's Ghost, and S. Baker, who joined the Patreon team this week. If you are interested in supporting ThreatWire on Patreon, hit up patreon.com/ThreatWire. And now, onto the news. Look at that. Equifax has to pay a fine. Surprise, surprise. But wait, it's only $575 million USD. Wasn't Facebook's fine recently $5 billion? Kinda interesting. On July 22nd, the Federal Trade Commission made an official announcement that Equifax is to pay $575 million as part of a settlement with the FTC, CFPB, and the US states in relation to the hack that occurred in 2017. Has it already been that long? Wow, feels like it happened very recently. The credit reporting firm in the US had a massive data breach 2 years ago, which exposed the personal and financial data of half of American citizens. About 150 million people were affected. The fine of $575 million may go up to $700 million if enough people claim for compensation. The data exposed in this breach included names and date of birth, social security numbers, physical addresses, and more personal information. The U.S. agencies declared Equifax did not take reasonable steps to secure its network, and this led to the breach. The data exposed is more than enough for any criminal to do fraud or steal multiple identities. For more information on what originally went down, see my previous ThreatWire episodes covering the whole ordeal. It's a lot of drama. Equifax must pay $300 million to a fund that provides consumers with credit monitoring services. This also covers anyone who claims compensation for credit monitoring from Equifax and out-of-pocket expenses related to the breach. Another $125 million will be added to that if that's not enough to cover compensation. On top of this, Equifax will also offer 6 free credit reports each year for 7 years, starting in January of 2020. That's on top of the currently free one that you get each year from the top 3 credit reporting agencies. Another $175 million will be paid to 48 states plus DC and Puerto Rico, and $100 million will be paid to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, or CFPB, for civil penalties. So, how do you file your claim? Well, the FTC has set up a dedicated page with a Q&A and a direct link to file a claim. They have also set up an email, which is equifax@ftc.gov, so employees of Equifax can let them know if the company is not adhering to the data security promises. To get started, you will want to visit the eligibility website to find out if you were part of the breach, which is linked below. Ironically, you do have to enter your legal name and a portion of your SSN to find out if your legal name and your SSN were a part of the breach. If you weren't affected, you can still get 6 extra credit reports for 7 years from Equifax. If you were affected, you can then make your claim. You will need to gather any kind of documents related to any expenses that you incurred in relation to the breach, such as unauthorized charges, cost to freeze your credit report or credit monitoring services, professional services, etc., etc. You can also choose to have credit monitoring or a cash payout and request payment for time recovering from a breach and lost or spent money due to it. Section 1 claims for credit monitoring or that cash payout do not require any forms, and they allow you to claim up to $125 alone. Now, if you were heavily harmed in the breach, you can claim up to $20,000. All claims must be submitted by January 22nd, 2020, and benefits will start paying out as soon as January 23rd, 2020. Personally, I'm kind of disappointed with the verdict. Officials are basically saying that your private personal data is worth $125. When this data is used for everything in your financial life, including buying a car, buying a house, or financing loans, it becomes a lot more than that. And if a breach allows someone to take all of that from you, well, I think it's a whole lot more. Marcus Hutchins has received his get out of jail free card. Hutchins, aka MalwareTech, hit notoriety after stopping the WannaCry ransomware outbreak that occurred in 2017. This ransomware brought down networks and companies found in over 150 countries, so his activation of a kill switch invariably disabled much of the ransomware from spreading. Now, while MalwareTech stayed anonymous during much of the WannaCry news, he ended up being doxxed by reporters who matched his handle to his actual identity. Months later, Hutchins was arrested by the FBI while attending DEF CON in Las Vegas in America, where I just so happened to be going in about 2 weeks, where he had traveled to from the UK. The FBI alleged that he created and distributed the Kronos banking malware around 2014 or 2015, which he indeed pleaded guilty to as of April of this year. This carries a maximum of 10 years in prison and $250,000 in fines, plus a year of supervised release. Now, Hutchins' lawyers Brian Klein, Marcia Hoffman, and Daniel Stiller provided services pro bono and helped come to a final verdict during court on July 26. The prosecutor in this case failed to show how much damage was actually caused by the Kronos malware, so that, plus Hutchins' recent years of work as a white hat hacker, plus plenty of character letters sent by those that knew him, allowed him to be sentenced to time served, plus 1 year of supervised release. Now, since he has been stuck in the US without the ability to go home to the UK, this does finally bring his 2-year-long case to a close. Hutchins will likely not be able to return to the US under visa due to being indicted as a felon, though he plans, based on court recordings, to dedicate time to teaching young security experts. Now, I bring this court case up no matter how you feel about MalwareTech because of the recent tests being performed by European authorities. If you are a young first-time offender who committed some kind of cybercrime, you may end up in a legal intervention campaign instead of handcuffs. It's called Hack Right, and this campaign is for 12 to 23-year-olds who may be experimenting with their abilities online but unaware of the actual real-life consequences. With 400 interactions with young hackers already processed, UK and the Netherlands law enforcement officials hope Hack Right will help them to learn about properly using their information security abilities to do good. Hack Right positions officials to solve what they believe is a societal problem, not a law enforcement problem, by putting young hackers in computer clubs instead of jail. Hackers found responsible for a security incident are pushed to be in 10 to 20 hours of ethical computer training, and they are put in touch with professionals who can help explain career paths or best educational assets. Now, given this current campaign in the UK and the Netherlands to help motivate inspired young hackers who may have crossed a line, instead of simply throwing them in jail, makes me wonder if similar could have happened to Hutchins. Had he been found guilty of this crime in the UK, his homeland, rather than here in the US, maybe he would have had a quicker turnaround, given it was his first offense and he was within that age range when it happened. While this program is available, a suspect must confess to the crime and not have a long criminal history. They must also be down to change their behavior and work with officials rather than against them. Before we hit story number 3, I wanted to say thank you so much to my Patreon supporters. For a limited time, anyone who joins my team of supporters will get a personalized thank you video sent directly to you from me. Also, I decided that I want to start a security and privacy audio podcast as part of the ThreatWire feed. That's my next Patreon goal, so if you want to help, check out my community. The link is in the description below. And also a big thanks to our Hush Puppy perk level patrons for sending in their fur baby photos. I love them as always, so keep them coming. This week, my Patreon members chose this top story about BlueKeep. I've gotten a couple of updates on the BlueKeep flaw to share. This wormable RDP flaw that affects Windows machines is still a critical vulnerability, even though it was first discovered a couple of months ago. Machines still have not been updated, even though Windows has been urging people to do so, including a lot of government authorities and agencies, even going so far as to release patches for older operating systems that are no longer being updated. This could allow an attacker to gain full control remotely just by sending a specific request over RDP, or Remote Desktop Protocol. No proof of concept was released publicly as of July 22nd, though several in the information security community said they were able to make working exploits built on BlueKeep. To make it worse, a Linux-based cryptocurrency mining malware botnet, which is called WatchBog, has a new variant that also scans the internet for Windows RDP servers that are still vulnerable to BlueKeep, making the flaw even more critical. This can allow WatchBog attackers to create a target list of vulnerable devices, which they could in turn redistribute to the highest bidder, or they could end up attacking themselves. While WatchBog infects Linux machines, it is scanning for the Windows ones. Researchers recommend updating machines to the newest version of your operating system to protect against the malware strains. Now, I did mention July 22nd for a reason. Just a day later, US government contractor and cybersecurity firm called Immunity released a new version of their penetration testing platform, which is called Canvas, and with it, an exploit that uses BlueKeep vulnerabilities. Now, it's only available to their paying customers who pay several $1,000s for the software. Now, some in the InfoSec community have balked at the idea of selling the BlueKeep exploit in Canvas, though others agree that the only way to test a network for vulnerabilities is to run exploits against it. The Canvas exploit is not self-propagating, so it can't worm itself into several machines, but there is always the possibility of malicious intent of a user who decides to pirate the software or reverse engineer the code. Are you worried about BlueKeep spreading? Let me know in the comments below. And with that, do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel of all sorts of awesome videos. I am Shannon Morse, and I will see you on the internet.